How's it going, everyone? And welcome to BryceBits, where you can get a little bit of wisdom. I'm Bryce Newberger. I'm a pastoral mentor with Side by Side Counseling based in Arizona. Let's dive on in. So, today we're going to be in AITH, which is Am I the A-hole? And we're going to be looking at a few different stories. So, this first one is AITH for locking my girlfriend out of the basement so I could eat in peace. Okay, let's listen. I am a 39-year-old male. My girlfriend is 41. We've lived together for a bit over a year in my house. During the time I have lived with my girlfriend, I have become very used to the fact that she really seems to de-stress by complaining. Much of this complaining is about other people in her life, such as her mother and her former coworkers, but much of this complaining is about me and how I'm not meeting her expectations in one way or another. I'm generally fine listening to her rant and will make all the appropriate motions to show that I'm listening, but a few months back, her complaining increased significantly in frequency. Oops. Again, I'm happy to listen to her, but one time that I do not want to listen to complaining is when I'm eating. Breakfast time isn't an issue because she's still asleep. When I eat it, at lunchtime is fine because I work 6 days a week and I'm out for lunch, but I would really love nothing more than to just have a quiet dinner. It's especially irritating because she gets upset when I don't answer her fast enough, even when I'm chewing. She'll start saying, hello, 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 are you even listening? As I try to swallow the food quickly and answer her. Wow, that, I gotta be honest, that sounds terrible. This sounds like a terrible way to eat food, in my opinion. This does not sound fun. I expressed this to her a few months back. I put it as nicely as possible with the excuse that I don't do well with talking during mealtime. If anything, it has had the opposite effect. I'm convinced that she's actually timing her complaints to begin when I start eating dinner now. What I like right here is that this person has already set a boundary, which is good that he communicated a boundary. There's a few other things we'll get into, but setting your boundaries is really good. So I'm convinced that she's actually timing her complaints to begin when I start eating dinner now. That's not good. That's a violation of boundaries. While I'm making my dinner, she'll be quiet, and when I sit down waiting for it to be cool, she'll be quiet. But once the fork reaches my mouth, she'll immediately start complaining. Last Saturday, I told her that I couldn't deal with her complaining during dinner time anymore, and that if she did it again, I would start eating elsewhere. That's interesting. You set a boundary and you communicated the consequences for violating your boundaries once it's been violated. I'm seeing some healthy relationship goals here. She responded, yeah, okay, fine. And then she sat down at the table and stared at me. When I took my first bite, she said, oh, by the way, you kicked one of my shoes when you were putting yours on. It made me feel like you only care about your own things and not mine. I stood up and went down to the basement to eat, locking the door behind me. That's funny. I've taken to doing this for every day since. She'll bang on the door at times. Wow, that does not bode well. At other times, she has demanded I give her a key, as I have the only copy. Today, she was literally crying and begging me to eat dinner at the table, but I said no. Now she's threatening to take the door off its hinges while I'm at work. So I know I have to lock it from the outside before going tomorrow. Am I in the wrong here? Okay. So am I in the wrong here is an interesting question to ask when you're in a relationship. Am I in the wrong here means one person is 100% right and one person is 100% wrong when you're asking, am I in the wrong here? Which, to be fair, you're in a community called AITAH, right? So you're asking if you're the a-hole. I'll be honest, what you've done is you set a firm boundary. Your girlfriend violated that boundary continuously, and then you reinforced your boundary by locking yourself in the basement. So while it's really healthy to set boundaries, I will say that just setting boundaries without any further communication is not a healthy relationship goal. Like, that's not a healthy part of a relationship. What would be better is if at first you set the boundary a little bit to just give yourself some peace so you can make it through, you can survive. But what's really important, what you did not do here, minute sand or minute sand, however you want to read that, is you didn't communicate. You didn't communicate what was bothering you. So Like I'll look through again. I'm happy to listen to her, but at the time I don't want to listen to yes. Quickly answer. I express. Oh, here we go. I express this. Okay, to be fair, you expressed this to her a few months back, so you did communicate that this is bothering you. You said I put it as nicely as possible. To be fair, I'm sure we all think that, but if the other person is putting in their perspective, they might not have heard you saying it as nicely as possible, with the excuse that I don't do well with talking during mealtime. So it's interesting. Don't talk during mealtime is an interesting boundary as well. I don't know that that's normal in most relationships. Good coffee today, pumpkin spice. So, you did communicate, but the problem is once you moved to the basement and she was begging you to eat back with her, that would have been a time to revisit the argument. Well, hey, I communicated my boundary. You violated that boundary. And now I'm locking myself in the basement. That's not it's up to you, but it doesn't seem like that is tenable long-term to just always have to lock yourself in the basement to eat food. That seems like a temporary solution. It seems like you should seek to move past that. And there's another thing too with, you guys are living together in a house. It doesn't seem like you're engaged or married. And so not to put that pressure on your relationship, but this could also be coming from, at the end, she said, when you kicked my shoe, it made me feel like you only care about your stuff, not mine. There might be a deeper need that she's responding to, which is feeling like she doesn't belong in your home. Now you've locked her out. This doesn't seem like a very stable relationship. It doesn't seem like you are building this relationship in a healthy way. So my response here would be that you set boundaries, which was good. You communicated, which was good, but then you gave up. You stopped communicating. Who knows if you've been getting kind of a kick out of her reaction to beating on the door. To me, that sounds extremely annoying. I would not want to live in that kind of environment or eat in that kind of environment. It just doesn't sound great. In my own personal marriage, there may be times where my wife is doing something and I feel like I have to grit and bear it for a little bit. And then when I'm at my best, I actually try to circle back when it's not in the moment, when it's a good time to talk about it and communicate that boundary and communicate when it's been violated. So, good for you for setting a boundary. Good for you for sticking up for yourself and communicating. But don't stop. I would say don't stop there. So are you the a-hole? Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit, because you walled off this person who you have living in your home that you don't really seem to have a strong commitment with. And I imagine they should be feeling like they're in limbo. They don't know what's going on in their life. They don't know where they belong. It seems like even the one complaint you listed here, I feel like you care more about your stuff than mine, right? There's data there. There's data for your relationship. So the question becomes, are you comfortable? Is this how you want to live? Is she comfortable? Is this how she wants to live? I would say your relationship definitely seems like it needs a little bit of work, as every relationship does, even my own. But I would encourage you to work on that and not just to think she's the a-hole, I'm not, I'm the a-hole, she's not, but more of where are you being the a-hole in some of this? As for her, she seems dysregulated. She seems like she might need some help with some of the ways that she operates. It doesn't seem like a good relationship. I would encourage you to either decide on whether you're going to commit to this relationship. Is it worth the work and the effort? If so, put in the work, right? And that's going to require her to put in the work on her end as well, with honoring your boundaries and not. And I'm going to say, if you're willing to put in the work and she's not willing to put in the work, I would end that relationship, and I would seek a partner who would honor my boundaries. Someone who violates your boundaries like that when you've clearly communicated them, not a good way to begin your relationship. Let's read some of the comments here. Why are you with someone this miserable? Yeah, I cannot imagine listening to someone complain every mealtime, all day, every day. Are you really going to do this for the next 20 years or more? Yikes, NTA, not the a-hole. It's not even about her being miserable. It's about her engaging in emotional abuse. Yeah, I could see that. A partner who constantly complains and blames is abusive. That's something interesting too. There are things that people can do that's abusive. I would say It could also be abusive to have someone living in your home that you're locking out away from you and you're not communicating with. That kind of stonewalling, literal stonewalling, could also be labeled as abusive. So it goes both ways. So I would say, yeah, that is abusive. But let's also be mindful that just because someone is doing something that has an abusive tendency doesn't necessarily mean that they're an abuser or should be labeled so harshly. I can completely understand someone might want to confront a partner for one reason or another at times, but the fact that she actually decided to go into a tirade about him accidentally kicking her shoe when he put his own shoes on just shows she'll complain about literally anything. I do agree that does seem a bit petty. I would actually be more worried about the data that's being presented. Like, why is she complaining so much? The complaint is never really the complaint. There's usually something deeper going on. So, like I said, this is data. This is good data that if you're working towards this relationship, you should listen to the data. That doesn't mean you have to believe all the data or believe all the complaints, but just understand that it is data. It's worth diving into your relationship a little deeper. I can understand why some people in this post seem to think Op is wrong. Op is original poster. I know this doesn't apply to you, but some people are suggesting that this is his fault. This man is in an abusive relationship. I agree that as he's communicated his boundaries, and they've not been honored, that was an abuse. Abuse basically says no to boundaries. In this day and age, we got to be careful, because if we use while that is an abuse, a form of abuse, when we label everything abuse, it makes it hard for people who are actually being like victims of domestic violence or something like that to have a voice of their own, right? It's like someone, who's being severely harmed in a relationship. You say, hey, this is an abusive relationship, you need to get out. Whereas this relationship here, you might need to exit, but I don't think I would call this an abusive relationship. I would say that this is an abuse within the relationship. Let's look at someone else. You locked her out of the basement. It's the first good step. Now do the same with the rest of your house. That's funny. This is so toxic. Please end this ASAP. Yeah. Yeah. So it looks like people are on the same page here. And that's the point that we're getting at, is that either put the work into the relationship or end it, but you can't leave things as they are. So yeah, that's where we'll sit with this one. But anyways, that's been AITH. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. If you want some of this advice from me personally, you can feel free to go to sidebyside.az.com and schedule a session with me. There's a free 15-minute consultation, and we can really just chat for 15 minutes and see if we're a good fit. And if we're not, I might even be able to refer you to someone else. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.